Hello, folks. How you doing out there? Welcome to the most censored comedian in America. I'm Lee Camp. Thanks for joining me. This is the Moment of Clarity show. Thanks for being here. I am going to bring you the shocking information about the U.S. military training a third of all mass shooters in the United States. Yes, that is true. That is accurate. I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about what just happened to Imran Khan in Pakistan and how the U.S. is facilitating it. I'm going to be bringing you clips of some more possibly soon to be political prisoners in the United States. I'm going to be bringing you clips of an unbelievable montage of your mainstream media lying to you over and over and over and over and over again. And by the end of it, you will be turned into a drooling, confused mess, which I think is the goal of this show. Each time I come to you, the goal is that we all leave completely lobotomized by the truth, though. So it's a positive. In a way, it's a positive. You get the truth, and it's so horrifying that you walk away drooling and bumping into walls, but you're a better person, and that's what matters. Please make sure and click subscribe and click like, click thumbs up, leave a comment. Even if you have nothing to say, just type in farty pants, okay? Because I think that tricks the algorithm. I don't know. I don't talk to the algorithms. They don't talk to me. They hate me so much that they won't even answer my calls anymore. So I don't actually know. But just leave a comment about anything. I think it helps. I don't actually know. But let's get into this. And not only have I not seen this story being covered almost anywhere else, but where I'm getting it is David Swanson. He does great work. He created the organization World Beyond War, and he's always going after the war state, the empire, for creating these wars, for creating these endless wars that blood is on all of our hands because we are connected to it. Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky right now, then you're living in Iran, and so you're not connected to the U.S. war empire. But for most of you, you're either in the United States or in one of the vassal states to the United States. So we all have blood on our hands. Anyway, not only do I not hear this talked about by almost anyone, but as David Swanson makes clear, he covered it 2 years ago, which is actually, I decided to bring you mostly that article because it's more, it has a little more information than the more current article that he just put out the other day about how since he covered it 2 years ago, there has still been no mention of it in the media. Still nothing in the mainstream media about how over a third, 36% of all mass shooters in the United States have been trained by the U.S. military. Allow me to repeat that, except I'll replace 36% with a third of all mass shooters in the United States trained by the U.S. military. Is that not enough for us to be like, maybe we're doing shit wrong? Maybe this isn't the way to set up a system. Maybe we shouldn't dump trillions of dollars into a military system that then sends shooters home to kill American citizens. A point I should make here is I kind of only really figured this out the other day because, and yes, someone mentioned in the comment, Daniel Penny, the guy who just strangled the guy to death on the New York subway, strangled an innocent, unarmed man having a mental health issue, strangled him to death, choked him to death on the New York subway. That guy is an ex-Marine as well. And that is why some more people are asking about this. Now, of course, that doesn't count as a mass shooting. But something that I was just seeing the other day is that you see these numbers thrown around about mass shootings and mass killings and people not understanding. Well, we have apparently the U.S. has 1,000 to 2,000. We've already had 200 this year mass shootings, and yet sometimes you'll see something about of the 26 mass killings this year, and you go, wait a second, I thought it was 200. 200. So these things actually have a technical definition. At least they do now, because we were having so many of them. Somebody was like, hey, let's get the sciences together and actually decide what these words mean. Mass shooting means 4 or more people shot, but it does not mean anyone was necessarily killed. Mass killing means 4 or more people killed. So we've had over 200 mass shootings in the United States because shit is working great. And we've had over 20 mass killings in the United States this year. Now, so anyway, back to what David Swanson talks about, and he's taken the database and he's been monitoring the people who are involved in these mass shootings. So 4 or more people shot, which includes obviously mass killings where 4 or more people are killed. At least 36% of U.S. mass shooters, and quite possibly a lot more. Yeah, I didn't mention that. It's actually a lot more probably than 36%, have in fact been trained by the U.S. military. Although I've been updating and writing about this topic for years, it is virtually whited out by the U.S. military. In reports on individual mass shootings, any mention of involvement with the U.S. military is usually a minor footnote. In many cases, I simply do not know with my very limited research whether a mass shooter is military veteran or not. This is why the figure of 36% is actually could be quite low. So he's just going off news media reports that mention somewhere in it that this was a military veteran. So if either not much is known about the shooter or the media just happens to leave out that they're a veteran, then that's not even included in his stats. So it's actually over 36% are trained by the U.S. military. Media reports tell us, as well they should, about access. Well, hold on. Before I say that part, so he goes on to say, now, this is a big deal because our media does reveal to us all these other things about these mass shooters, and it makes a big point about other aspects of these mass shooters that we should know. Media reports to us, as well they should, about access to guns, types of guns, criminal records, mental health records, misogyny, racism, age, sex, and other features of shooters' backgrounds. If mass shooters were at all disproportionately redheaded, homosexual, vegan, left-handed, or basketball fans, we would damn well know about it. Yes, we would. Could you imagine the amount of coverage you'd get on mainstream media if a large percentage of mass shooters were all vegan or were all basketball fans? Yet the fact that well over a third of them, and maybe more, have been professionally trained in killing is unmentionable, despite its obvious relevance and the supposed cultural value of following the science wherever it may lead. Now, this is further made incredible that the mainstream media doesn't cover this. They don't talk about this. If it's mentioned that this person is a veteran, it's a little one sentence out of a whole long article about the person. It's made more incredible that most of the media is liberal. Yes, there is the Fox News right-wing contingent. And again, the two corporate parties are very much the same on most things. But our liberal mass media, this liberal side of it, doesn't talk about this either. Now, you would think, wait, liberals, they want peace, right? Fucking no, they don't. Look at what our liberal presidents do. Endless war, as well as our Republican presidents. So break yourself of the idea that liberals want peace. Now, your average liberal walking around and on the street that you see with their little pride flag on their shirt or whatever else. I'm not saying there's a problem with the pride flag. I'm just saying that's how they dress. Or their little Ukraine flag on their shirt. They think they want peace, but they haven't done the research to realize what peace involves, what it actually entails. It entails not sending arms to Ukraine. It entails not supporting and being excited about Joe Biden or Donald Trump, both endless war criminals. So you have to understand that stance is not peaceful. It doesn't create peace. But so our liberal media also does not talk about the fact that over a third of all mass shooters are U.S. military or former U.S. military. We are routinely told that mass shooters owned and liked guns, that they had mental health issues, and that they were loners, without the slightest hesitation over whether we might be generating a prejudice against gun owners or mental health patients or introverts. And he's saying that the reason liberal media claims they're not making a big deal over these people being veterans is because it might, generate a prejudice against veterans. Well, maybe there should be a prejudice or an understanding that veterans often come home having been trained to kill, having been told to kill, having been told it's okay to kill. And some of them, a certain percentage, go out and kill. Now, you should also know that if you take the number of mass shooters and you put it up against the number of veterans, the vast majority, 99.9%, I'm sure, of veterans do not go out and kill American citizens. So let's not act like most veterans come home and kill people. They don't. But knowing that over a third of all U.S. mass shooters are U.S. military or ex-U.S. military is something we should know. It's something we should talk about. Most cops also don't kill people. Most cops go their entire career having never murdered someone. Does that mean we shouldn't discuss the fact that in the United States, the cops kill more people than any other country by a crazy proportion? Of course we should talk about that. Of course it should be a discussion, despite the fact that 99% of all cops don't kill many people. Go their entire career having probably killed nary a person. But we should still discuss it. We should still talk about how fucked the system is that you have so many murders by police. So this is an incredibly important aspect. What the hell just got on my camera? A piece of dust? This is some bullshit. The fuck? Come on now. Can't be intruding on the live stream like that. Dust, if that is your real name. So, what was I talking about? So, we have a third of all mass shooters are trained by the U.S. military. And of course, there's all the aspects of that go along with it. That of course should be a discussion, such as the fact that when you teach people to dehumanize others, to view other human beings as kind of meaningless or as targets or as others that don't matter if they're killed, then that mentality is going to stick with some of them when they come home. And I know I say come home, even though many of them are controlling drone bombs from here in the United States. Many of them don't leave the U.S. and still manage to do their killing overseas. Kind of amazing. Isn't it great how you can just, Zoom to work and kill others without it? I could just use a little Skype or a Zoom call or a Google chat and just murder people overseas with that rather than having to fly over there. Aren't our modern times wonderful? How easily you can commute to work and murder others. I just love it. I love technology. #technology. Okay. So to move to another, but very related topic is I was just telling you how a third of all mass shootings are done by U.S. military veterans. And by the way, that doesn't count ex-cops. It doesn't count ex-security guards. It doesn't count people that are trained to possibly murder others in their line of work as well. So it's just talking about U.S. veterans. So a third of those. However, there's actually another group in our mass shootings that are, like I said, the number of mass shootings in the United States is often over 1,000 a year. We have over 200 already this year. Mass killings, we have over 20 this year. The United States is unique in the amount of killing done at this level to this number per capita anywhere in the world. So, but here's something else that is essentially never talked about in terms of these numbers and who is committing these mass shootings. 96%, that's the actual number. Over 96% of U.S. mass shootings are all by one group of people, one type of human, 96%. I don't know if some of you know which group it is. I'm about to tell you, but almost the entirety of mass shootings fit into this category. Almost the entirety. So shouldn't it be logical? Shouldn't we be rational and logical and sit here and be forward thinking, be a forward thinking society, and sit here and go, hey, shouldn't we take anyone that fits into that group that is committing 96% of all mass shootings? Shouldn't we take them and I'm not saying like execute them or anything, just put them all in a cage. Just put them in a nice little cage where they can't hurt anyone. Wouldn't that make sense? Just lock them deep underground with a bucket to piss in. Wouldn't that be the forward thinking thing to do here? Okay, let's say that's too harsh. Shouldn't we take them all and subject them to a special screening? Some special rules. So like sex offenders. You can do it like sex offenders. They can't. This group of people can't be near schools. They can't work at the Boy and Girl Scouts. They can't work in any government jobs. They can't run for office. They can't hold a job that involves guns and badges and pointy, stabby things. Doesn't that make sense? Wouldn't that be the logical thing to do? 96% of those who commit mass shootings fit into one group, and it's never discussed by the mainstream media. They're men. It's men. Men. Fucking men. They're the worst, aren't they? 96% of mass shootings are done by men. Here's the actual stats. And again, I don't know if you can see the actual numbers. You can see the bar graph, definitely, but I don't know if you see the actual numbers. Now, the numbers may seem low. This is from 1982 to 2023. And you may say 136. Why is it only 136 mass shootings? Because, again, I think they're talking about mass killings. So they actually have the terminology wrong. There's been thousands of mass shootings in that time, but I think they're talking about mass killings. But okay, so 136 have been male, 4 have been female, and then they have 2 as male and female, which I guess they're counting that as either trans or anything else that didn't fit under the 2 categories of male or female. So 96% are done by men. So anytime we discuss these mass shootings, this should be in the discussion. This should be part of the discussion. Of course, I was being sarcastic, which led with the idea of locking all men underground. I personally would prefer that we not be locked up underground. But should this not be part of the discussion? Should an advanced society not say, hey, why is that? Why also are a third of them ex-military or current military? But of course, we can't discuss these things like goddamn rational beings, can we? We can't sit down and actually have these discussions. We have to have the dumb, super dumb discussions that they have on mainstream media. We have to have the completely irrational versions of these discussions where they say, where they see that one trans person committed a mass shooting and then Fox News does wall to wall, trans people are killing everyone. Or, they see that one, I don't know what's a lot of these people are actually connected to far right wing nationalist groups. So I think that's a fair discussion to have. I don't know the exact percentage of that one, but that's a fair discussion to have. The one that that wasn't a mass shooting. That was the guy who drove the car through the people in Charlottesville. So the one who nearly killed me was a fucking neo-Nazi. So that's a fair part of the discussion to have. Sorry if that upsets you. If you find yourself defending the Nazis, it's one of my favorite quotes. I don't know where I got it, but they were like, if you're anti-Antifa, then you're the fa. You know what that stands for, right? Anyway, I think these are some of the more important discussions to have about these mass shootings that are completely ignored on your mainstream media for a good reason. They can't be talking about legitimate issues. Instead, they have to act like we don't know where these mass shootings come from. There's a lot of other aspects of mass shootings that also desperately need to be talked about on mainstream media, but of course can't be, such as the connection to capitalism. The fact that almost all of these men, and like we just showed, they are men, almost all of these men that are involved in these mass shootings, mass killings, almost all of them are, now they may have groups online, but they're basically kind of lonely people that have, many of them have had life circumstances such as losing their job, losing their girlfriend, getting kicked out of the military, have had life circumstances that have put them in that place. And many of those life circumstances are connected to the harm that capitalism does to our lives, to the gutting of our souls. This is not to say that what they do is acceptable. No, I think they should be locked up for fucking years and years. Because believe it or not, although I am largely a prison abolitionist, I do believe that mass murderers should not be, just like tisk, tisk, tisk. Now get back out there. I don't believe that's really the way to go about things. But, okay, so now let's I want to get to what just happened, to the arrest that just happened against Imran Khan. I want to get to more breathtaking revelations about how much your mainstream media is lying to you. I want to get to the press conference that was just done by by Amalia Yeshitela and those who are fighting against the FBI, who are trying to lock him and others up for years, basically for exercising free speech and going against our empire and going against the talking points of our ruling elite. And, that's when you're really threatening the system, is when they want to lock you up. It's not, I don't, I don't like to have my TV show canceled as it has been by U.S. government sanctions. I don't like to have my main YouTube channel deleted around the world, but I actually am not threatening the ruling elite enough that they've locked me up yet. So at least I have that going. But, one day, if I keep working, one day maybe I will be threatening enough. Okay, by the way, if you're a member at leakcamp.net and you're watching this there on my locals page, I know you guys are watching in a lot of different places, but if you're watching on my locals page, then you can leave comments there, and I will be answering some of those comments and questions at the end of this live stream. So please feel free to put comments and questions there, and we will get to a few of those at the end of this. But all right, let's get on to Imran Khan's arrest. And the U.S. Hold on, before I pull that up, the U.S. involvement in it, because so I should say first, Imran Khan was arrested by paramilitary troops. Imran Khan, of course, being the former prime minister of Pakistan. He now for those of you who follow it, and I'm not acting like I'm some kind of expert on Pakistan. He is not. Imran Khan is not like a hardcore leftist. There's many on the left who find a lot of what he stands for wrong and middle of the road. So it's not that he's a leftist, but that being said, he did do enough, just barely enough, to alienate the empire, to alienate the U.S. empire, that he was removed by a U.S. empire lawfare coup that was done in Pakistan. It happened not too long after the proxy war in Ukraine began. Imran Khan was, they say, cozying up to, right? When they want to make it sound scary, they say cozying up to Russia. He was allying Pakistan closer to Russia, which would make sense geographically than the United States. But he was closer with Russia than the United States, and the U.S. didn't like it. So the U.S. facilitated a lawfare coup where the parliament, brought charges against him and kicked him out, or brought a vote of no confidence and kicked him out as prime minister. Since that time, he has been running around Pakistan, understandably, saying that he was kicked out unfairly and that he should be put back in, and calling for he and his faithful, he and his fans, he and his supporters, he and his protesters have been simply calling for a new election, which they are pretty certain he'd win. So the mainstream, not mainstream, the current rulers backed by the U.S. in Pakistan don't want to allow that. Don't want to allow an election where he would win again. He was also shot, right? They did hit him, right? He was shot. But anyway, they've been looking for a way to lock him up and make sure he can't run again. And just the other day, he was arrested by paramilitary troops. Was it yesterday or the day? Maybe it was yesterday, the day before. And the U.S. does not have a position. So he's in prison right now, Imran Khan is. And the U.S. does not have a position and calls for respect of democratic principles. The U.S. is calling for respect of democratic principles. Oh my God, that's incredible. That's like a beehive calling for quiet. Just stop with the buzzing, okay? Everybody could I get a little peace and quiet for a moment? The U.S. calling for democratic principles. Protests erupted across Pakistan on Tuesday after former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested during a court appearance in the capital city. PTI supporters laid siege to military sites, pelted stones, blocked roads, and burned banners and tires. The United States has reacted to the chaos in Pakistan and has called for respect of democratic principles and the rule of law. This is a U.S. government that has rigged completely every election, whether you're for Republicans or Democrats, they're all rigging their shit. They're all doing their best. Republicans are knocking as many people off the voter rolls as possible in their states. Democrats are rigging their primary. The voting machines are completely black box. You can't see what's going on inside them. This is a rigged system. And even if it weren't rigged in those ways, it's rigged by the fucking money. Billions of dollars spent to make sure you do not have a legit democracy or republic in the United States. But we call for democracy overseas. Overseas, we want democracy. Here in the U.S., not so much. Not so much. So, as we have said before, the U.S. does not, this is a quote from the U.S. State Department spokesperson. As we have said before, the U.S. does not have a position on one political candidate or party versus another. We call for respect. How do these people say these sentences without gagging on their own fucking tongues? How do they? We call for respect. Wouldn't it be great if you lied to that level? Now, not little white lies. I think those are important. Honey, you look great in that. That kind of shit, very important in life. But this level of lies, wouldn't it be, if there were any justice in this world, it would be connected with just a swelling of the tongue, throat area, so that every time a U.S. spokesperson got up there, they were like, the United States does not have a position on one political candidate or party versus another. We call for respect of democratic principles and the rule of law around the world. And then he just passes out and smacks his head on the podium. That would be, if there was justice in this world, that would be what we'd see. It'd be every press conference they do. Every single one that they get up there. It'd just be the podium, unless they switched it out each time, would just be covered in blood from each of their heads, smacking down into it as they passed out due to lack of oxygen. Oh, how is that? Why does that not exist in this world? That is the way it should be. And again, only if you lie at that level. If you lie, the small lies, you got to let those pass. Those are important for our society. Like when I say I am very informed on this topic, and I have studied every intricacy of Pakistan's parliament. That type of thing, as you could leave in there. I wouldn't have to choke while saying that. Or if I say something like, listen, I love those of you watching right now. I love every single one of you. Like that type of thing. That's a good lie. I love a lot of you, but I don't. I like a lot of you, but I don't. There's got to be a couple in there. I don't. What have you been doing? What really with that? Why? Anyway, here is Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told a joint news press conference, "We just want to make sure that whatever happens in Pakistan is consistent with the rule of law and with the Constitution." Yes, folks. After we have cooed your government, brought down Imran Khan, kicked him out of the government because we didn't like that he was daring align even slightly with the other side of this proxy war in Ukraine. Even though we did that to you and we helped create this coup, create this unstable environment in your country where there is fighting and people don't know who the legit government is. Even though we helped create that situation, we want to make sure that everything is by the book in Pakistan. So here's the thing, and what little this has been talked about in the mainstream media, it has not been talked about that the U.S. is facilitating this. And I get that he's saying basically no comment. But when the U.S. wants to allow something to continue, such as the paramilitary SWAT-style arrest of the prime minister that we helped coup in Pakistan, when we want to allow that, we say, we're not taking a stance. See, because the U.S., if we did want, let's say Imran Khan was in power right now and we wanted him out, we would take a stance, right? We would say what he's doing in Pakistan is just very wrong. So the U.S. is actually helping facilitate this continued coup in Pakistan. And that's an important thing to know right now. Okay, I want to get to this amazing clip of our mainstream media lying to you. And honestly, I know that you know that our mainstream media lies to you, but still, this montage is still going to kind of shock you. By the way, please take a second to hit subscribe, hit share, hit thumbs up. I am one of the most suppressed commentators in this country. I am perhaps the most suppressed and censored comedian in this country. I don't know of any who has had a TV show canceled by U.S. sanctions, the main YouTube channel banned around the world, over 2,000 videos banned around the world, my Spotify show banned and deleted. So I need your help to keep going, and I hope you will. So please hit the thumbs up, hit the share, become a member at leecamp.net. You get a free copy of my new ebook, Dangerous Ideas. You can see the photo up there, the cover up there in the corner. And that's the only way to get it, by the way, is to become a member at leecamp.net. You can also become a member for free. You won't get the ebook, but please do that. Even if you don't have the $6, even a month, even if you don't want to buy me the $6 beer a month, even if you're like, Lee Camp is not worth one beer a month, even if that is your belief, I hope you will become a free member at leecamp.net. Now, of course, I don't drink beer. I would never do that. It dilutes the whiskey. If I pour the beer in my cup, in my mug, in my glass, in my tumbler, it dilutes the whiskey. And let's be honest, we can't have that. We just can't have that. Okay, so so Matt Taibbi and Matt Orfalea put this together. And as you know, Matt Taibbi pretty well. Has been doing the Twitter files. Basically, Elon Musk, who now doesn't like Matt Taibbi because he said some things about it. But at the beginning, I guess he liked him. By the way, I love Matt Taibbi's books. He wrote some great books, Griftopia, The Divide. Excellent journalism. But Matt Taibbi was given these internal files, and other reporters given these internal files from Twitter after Elon Musk took over. Elon Musk, don't kid yourself. A sack of shit. Okay, Elon Musk, sack of stinking shit in many regards. But in this regard, I like him. In this one area, I'm a fan. He gave these internal files, internal emails to these journalists, and they've gone through them as best they can, and they continue to go through them because we're talking, I think millions of documents, if not, maybe it's just hundreds of thousands, but so they're doing the best to go through them. And I already covered the part of the story that I'm setting up, so that's why I'm not bringing you headlines of this part of the story. But in the documents, they discover that internally, Twitter knew that the Russian bot dynamic of Russiagate, which many, including myself, have been saying is utter horseshit for years now, from the moment we saw there was nothing there. There was no there. Okay? We saw that going in. Like the mental capacity of Jen Psaki. We saw there was no there, okay? There was nothing there, and we knew that because they weren't revealing anything. They couldn't show what all these Russian bots, they just kept saying, Russian bots promote this and promote that, and we knew it was bullshit. Now, the mainstream media acted like they didn't know it was bullshit. And so one of the main things that they were pushing was this Hamilton 68. That's what it was called. I talked and wrote about it at the time. Hamilton 68, created by former Obama staffers. It was a dashboard. It was some sort of software that in real time could discover the Russian bots. It like a divining rod for Russian bots, and it would tell you what's being promoted by Russian bots in real time. You could go and look at it, and they would say, "Hey, if you saw anything about Joe Biden as an asshole, then that was Russian bots doing that." And people believed it because people believed in mainstream media. Sadly, despite all of the work I've done, people still believe in mainstream media. Now we have, and even though, like I said, at the time, because this is an important factor that a lot of people are ignoring. Some people go, okay, now we've learned Hamilton 68 was bullshit, but we didn't know at the time. No, we knew at the time. If you had half a brain cell, you knew at the time that it was bullshit, but the mainstream media acted like it was real. Now we have the proof it was bullshit. And hilariously, this is something that supposedly points at other things, like points at me and says, that's bullshit. But we know it was bullshit. It's a fucking MC Escher design of propaganda. So we see internally in Twitter that Twitter, when they look at the actual internals of what is connected to Russia, what is being done by Russia, whether it's Russian bots, they said, this Hamilton 68 thing is bullshit. They literally used the word bullshit internally. And some of them said, we should probably call out this bullshit now publicly. And they said, no, it's against Trump. It's helping Joe Biden and the Democrats. Let's let it run. Who cares if it destroys lives like mine? Who cares if it destroys other outlets like Truth Out and Truth Dig that were called Russian bots? Who cares if it destroys people like Jill Stein that were called Russian bots? And of course, they said Bernie Sanders was being pushed forward by Russian bots. Who cares if it destroys other people? Let's just let it run. Let it ride, all this horseshit. So now that we know, now that we have even more proof that Hamilton 68 and this other crap was garbage, Matt Orfalea and Matt Taibbi decided to create a video of all the times that the mainstream media put forward this bullshit, but also that now, currently, they should put out a retraction, put out a statement, even just a little statement. Even if MSNBC did one little segment where they said, hello, fuck faces, we've been lying to you for years. No, even if they didn't say that, maybe that's exaggeration. Even if they didn't say that, they said, hello, it turns out we were wrong about Hamilton 68, and we were taken for a ride on this. And I know it's a little too late, but we're sorry. Even if they just did that one statement. But here's what happened is they went to make the video and to make maybe an article or whatever to say, here are the articles about referencing Russian bots, referencing Hamilton 68. And they found that it was so many that they couldn't come close to doing the job. They simply, like, it would take 1,000 journalists trying to put together how many times these lies had been put forward. So instead, they put together one video that's 11 minutes long, and I'm not going to show it all because it would break your brain, just on this subject, just on one station, that station being MSNBC. Here's, as they write, covered in Sheer Post, the plan was a comprehensive count with a sizable team of smart temporary hires, each looking into a different area of the Twitter files. We thought counting all the mainstream news stories that would need retracting or correcting in light of information found in Twitter documents would make for an easy little sidebar, something simple for the public to digest. If you used the Hamilton dashboard of accounts as a source for a story about Russian bots, you probably needed to either retract altogether or add a note to these old articles, meaning an article from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They should add a note saying the Russianness and the botness of those accounts has since been called into question. That's all. Here's the thing is Matt Taibbi, despite how much I like a lot of his work, sometimes I don't know if it's like being professionalism or he is just a bit naive, but he seems to think that there's still real journalism in this country, which amazes me. Like at times you'll go, and I thought that they would add a retraction or a little statement under the article saying that this has been called into question. I'm like, no, they wouldn't. I'm not saying he does that all the time, but I've heard him say things like that occasionally. And I'm like, what do you think this mainstream? And he knows these mainstream writers way better than I do. Like he has been sitting in the rooms with them hundreds of times. He was on the campaign trails with various politicians. Like he knows these people. And yet I seem to have a bit of a more jaded view of media than in some regard he has. Because I'm like, no, they're not going to add a retraction. No, they're not going to sit there and fix their mistakes. Who do you think these people are? They are fucking courtesans and nothing else. They are just servile toadies to the goddamn ruling elite. That is it. They're not there to fucking fix their mistakes. Anyway, perhaps I'm a bit more jaded. But all right, here is the video, which I'm going to skip around in because 11 minutes would, again, cause you all to vomit and break your brain for the rest of the week. So this is just me skipping around in it.
McCarthy publicly charges that the United States is infested with
foreign forces at work in our politics.
He says that he has a list of
600 Twitter accounts that appear to be linked to the Russian government.
That's a lie.
These Kremlin-linked accounts, Russian-linked accounts, Kremlin-linked accounts, a foreign influence, Kremlin-oriented Twitter accounts, Kremlin-linked Twitter accounts, Russian-linked Twitter accounts impersonating Americans.
They are every day playing on social media. There's a website called Hamilton 68 that measures it.
This Russian influence tracker on Twitter.
Now, this data comes from Hamilton 68. That's a web dashboard, and it tracks around 600 Russia-linked accounts, and it doesn't provide the names of those accounts.
I will not give those names.
Because if it did, the Russians could simply change them.
It's manipulated by Russian bots or others.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So, Ken, what are these bots trying to accomplish?
Well, they're trying to fan the
pushed by Russian bots. Russian bots in the hashtag release the memo.
Bot thing amplifying the release the memo hashtag.
And Russia used these bots, swarms of them, to advance certain hashtags like release the memo.
Accounts calling for that memo's release.
We saw it promoted heavily by accounts associated with Russian disinformation campaigns.
Russian Twitter bots.
Attack of the bots. Early promoters of the hashtag meet basic criteria for bots. For trolls, release the memo was pumped out by the bots.
The Russians, their secret service, their bots flooding with
the Russian-backed Twitter accounts. Researchers say Russian-backed accounts, manufactured accounts, malicious automated accounts,
They are on Kevin McCarthy's side. They are on Devin Nunes' side. They are on Donald Trump's side. Russian intelligence agencies and the Russian
conversation that happens on social media.
The Russians are continuing to attack our democracy. They're continuing to interfere in our democracy.
1,000 Russian bots said that it was George Soros'
This is the news, so we always want to be as clear as possible. We're reporting on this just like Russian bots.
They get their narrative out there first.
Russian-linked actors pushing a propaganda
bot picking up this hashtag was just sort of the right and the Russian working together
to get that Nunes memo out.
There were Russian bots and there were sort of other
Twitter hashtag by those Russian-linked accounts, Russian-linked Twitter bots, Russian-linked
Russian bots are promoting this.
According to the German Marshall Fund, a group that tracks their activity.
Devin Nunes is trying to release a memo that the FBI bots,
the Russian bots are at it again.
Russia.
Bots struck again.
Russia. Bots and operations were created by Russians.
McCarthy begun an investigation of reported
600 Russia-linked accounts.
McCarthy had interrogated almost 600 people.
Hamilton.
These are all Russian accounts monitored by Hamilton 68, FISA-Gate,
Russia.
Obama Deep State,
Russia.
We the People Demand Justice.
Russians that are Russian intelligence agencies, Twitter bots, to start talking about releasing a memo.
There are Russian bots after the Florida shooting. Right. This is what they do, and they're going to.
Okay, all right. I can't even fucking take anymore. Oh, and keep in mind, that is a tiny sampling. It's 11 minutes long. I just showed you like less than 2 minutes. And also, this is one network, MSNBC. I guarantee you they didn't get all of them. So on top of that, this is not including all the other cable news networks that did a lot of this shit. Yes, MSNBC may have been the worst, but CNN was right up there. Fox News even did a fair amount of it when it was useful to them. And then this is not including all of the written articles on this garbage about Russian bots used to malign anyone that the empire didn't like what they were saying, didn't like what was being revealed, didn't like what was coming out. Oh, it's all Russian. It's Russian bots. Of course, it ultimately, not just, here's the thing is before my TV show was canceled due to U.S. sanctions and all my videos deleted, even before that happened, and most of you know this, I had been suppressed and censored nearly into oblivion because I was considered to be part of this Russian bot garbage, which was completely fake. My videos were not shown to anyone. They wouldn't let your stuff grow and be viewed by many people. Even people sometimes would subscribe, and I don't know whether this level of suppression goes on still today. I think it's pretty close. I continue to be suppressed, but people would subscribe to my Facebook, my Twitter, my YouTube, and then they're unsubscribed and they don't know it. So the effort to like follow my videos has to be like a fucking job. Like you have to sit down and like have to work to try and follow my videos. And I'm just, one of the people that has been driven over by a fucking what are the machines that roll and the smooth the cement? The fuck's that thing called? I didn't study my construction machines. I'll just call it a flattener. Rolled over by these goddamn flatteners. Someone's gonna tell me here in a minute what those machines are called, but. And of course, this is useful, right? It is not called a road roller. It is not steam roller. Is it a steam? There's no steam involved. Come on, folks. You can do better than this. Is it really called a steamroller? They keep calling it a steamroller even though there's no steam involved. All right. Well, they need to update their goddamn term. Call it a diesel roller or something. And then eventually an e-roller. Can we get to an e-roller? Can we do that now? All right. I am going to... So that, again, that is a tiny portion of the amount of lies that was put forward by them. And a lot of people want to argue, that want to defend your mainstream media. Many of them have stopped trying to argue that that shit was real. Very few of them are arguing that it's real anymore. But many of them are arguing, oh, well, the mainstream media was going off the information at the time. That they couldn't have known better. No, they could have known better. I knew better. There were people out there that fucking talked about how fake this shit was. Someone says they checked and it's called a road roller. All right, well, I don't like that either. That road roller? All right, I guess. I don't know. I guess steamrolled is the expression. So I've been steamrolled, I guess. But yeah, that does sound, that's old technology. I've been crank rolled. Dude just sitting there cranking it away. All right, but I got to get to the rest of this live stream, which will go a little long, is at rumble.com/Lee Camp. That's rumble.com/Lee Camp. And I want to show you a lot more. So join me over there. It's also at leecamp.net, my locals page. So if you're a member of my locals page, then you can keep watching me there. I will try to answer a couple of your questions at the end of this if we have time. But I need to bring you this press conference from people the FBI is going after right now for freedom of speech. Literally, legitimately, after they brought the indictment, they said it was due to weaponized or weaponization of free speech. They literally admitted that they're indicting people for free speech now, which they've been doing that for a long time, but they haven't always admitted it. So join me at rumble.com/Lee Camp. It is free to watch there. Thank you for the donation, Linda. And yeah, let's keep going at